with ArchiMate specification and explain to you how practically we actually do the modeling using the ArchiMate architecture, enterprise architecture tool. Here I will be talking about a business layer, how we create a business layer in ArchiMate. The model follows the structure of the generic meta model that we know from ArchiMate. It introduces we introduced in previous chapters and previous sessions. However, the layer also includes a number of additional informal concepts which are relevant in the business domain. A product and associated contracts, the meaning of business object, and the value of product and business services are the things that we are going to be discussing here. The first thing I want to talk about is the actor, business actor. A business actor performs a behavior assigned to a business role, or a behavior or more of one behavior. It could have a role, could have more than one behavior. A business actor is an organizational entity as opposed to a technical entity. For example, it belongs to a business layer. Actors may, however, include entities outside the actual enterprise, for example, customers or partners. Examples of business actors are humans, departments, and objects or business units of the organization. A business actor may be assigned to one or more business roles, and the name of the business actor should preferably be a noun. Next thing is the business role. Of course, a business role is something that we apply to a business actor. Business processes or business functions are assigned to a single business role with certain responsibilities or skills. A business actor that is assigned to a business role ultimately performs the corresponding behavior. In addition to the relation of a business role with behavior, a business role is also useful in structural organizational sense. For instance, in the division of labor within the organization. The other entity in business layer is the business collaboration. A business collaboration process or function may be interpreted as the internal behavior assigned to a single business role. In some cases, behavior is the collective effort of more than one business role. In fact, a collaboration of two or more business roles results in a collective behavior which may be more than basically simply the sum of the behavior of the separate roles. So added value, it will create an added value when several business roles collaborate with each other. Business collaboration represents this collective effort. So it's a collective effort of different roles, and that is creating the collaboration. Business interactions are used to describe the internal behavior that takes place within the business collaboration. Next thing is the business interface. A business interface exposes the functionality of a business service to other business roles. Basically, it provided an interface or expects functionality from other business services, like requires interface. It is often referred to as a channel, like a telephone, internet, a local office, etc. The same business service may be exposed through different interfaces. So, for example, internet could be exposed through desktops, through servers, through handheld devices, and so on. Location. The location concept is used to model the excuse me, model the distribution of structural elements such as business actors, applications, components, devices, and so on. This is usually modeled by means of an assignment relationship from location to structure element. This is done directly. Indirectly, a location can also be assigned to a behavior element to indicate where the behavior is performed. So basically, location, as the name suggests, is the place that we figure out where the behavior is basically performed. Okay, next element or next entity is the business process. Business process basically describes the internal behavior performed by a business role that is required to produce a set of products or services. For a customer, the product and services are relevant and the required behavior is merely a black box. Hence, the design or the design is basically internal. Okay. Business function is about business processes. So just like business processes, a business function also describes internal behavior performed by a business role. However, while a business process group behavior is based on a sequence or a flow of activities that is needed to realize a product or service, a business function typically groups behavior based on required business resources, skills, competencies, knowledge, and etc. Business interaction is a similar thing to a business process or function. But while a process and a function may be performed by a single role, an interaction is performed by a collaboration of multiple roles. The role in the collaboration share the responsibilities for the performing the interaction. So it's and business activity similar to business function or business process, but it's actually performed by multiple roles instead of one role. Business event is the next entity. Business process and other business behavior may be triggered or interrupted by a business event. As the name suggests, is basically an event that can trigger or stop something. Also, business process may raise events that trigger other business processes, functions, or interactions for that matter. A business event is most commonly used to model something that triggers behavior. But other types of events are also possible. For example, an event that interrupts a process. Unlike business processes or functions, a business event is instantaneous. It does not have a duration. That's why we call them an event. It happens at once. Whereas the processes and functions and interactions has a duration, and it takes over a certain length of a time. Events may originate from the environment of the organization, for example, form of a customer, from a supplier, but also internal events may occur. So you could probably also have internal events generated by processes within the organization. So a process can actually initiate an event. Business services, or a business service exposes the functionality of business roles or collaborations to other environments. This functionality is accessed through one or more business interfaces. So a business service must have a interface, otherwise it's not accessible. A business service is realized by one or more business processes or business functions or business interactions that are performed by a business role or business collaboration respectively. It may access business objects as well. Okay, so what's a business object? It represents the important informal or conceptual elements in which the business thinks about the domain. At the enterprise architecture abstraction level, it is more common to model types rather than instances. In most cases, a business object is therefore used to model an object type, similar to UML, of which several instances may exist within the organization. Sometimes business objects represent actual instances of information processed or products that is produced and consumed by behavior elements such as business processes. Another thing is that a wide variety of types of business objects can be defined. Business objects are passive in the sense that they do not trigger or perform anything, or they do not do any processes. They're passive. They are there to be used. A business object could be used to represent information assets that are relevant from business point of view and can be realized by data objects usually. Representation, an example of representation is like a message or a document. They are perceptible carriers of information that are relevant to business objects. If relevant, representations can be classified in various ways. For example, terms of medium, electronic, paper, audio, and so on, or in a format such as HTML, PDF, RTF, and etc. A single business object can have a number of different representations. For example, a form, say for example, a registration form can be in different formats. It can be in a PDF format, can be in a HTML format, or could be in an electronic format. For example, you can be able to do it over the telephone. A representation may realize one or more business objects. For example, the other way around, an HTML or a PDF document could contain more than one object. For example, a personal information plus a business information in the same document. A meaning can be associated with a representation that carries this meaning. This is about the meaning in the next slide. It is the information related counterpart of a value. It represents the intention of a business object or representation. For example, a document, a message, the representations related to a business object. It is description that exposes the intent of the representation. For example, how it informs the external user. Okay, so that's a question, that a meaning of a representation. So meaning belongs to a representation, and as an example, it informs the external user. Value is about basically value may apply to what a party gets by selling or making available some products or services, or it may apply to what a party gets by buying or obtaining access to it. Value is often expressed in terms of money, but it has long since been recognized that non-monetary values is also possible, or is also actually essential to the business. For example, practical function is a value, including the right to use a service, for example. That doesn't have a monetary value, but it has a value nonetheless for the business. Also, the value of information or knowledge is something that we can consider as a non-monetary value. Though value can hold internally for some systems or organization units, it is most typically applied to external appreciation of goods, services, information, knowledge, or money for that matter, and normally as part of some sort of customer provider relationships. Product. This definition describes the financial or service-based or information product that are basically common in information-intensive organizations rather than physical products. A financial or information product consists of a collection of services and a contract that specifies the characteristics, rights, or requirements associated with the product. Buying a product gives the customer the right to use the associated services. Generally, the product concept is used to specify a product type. The number of product types in an organization is typically relatively stable compared to, for example, the processes and and other things like that. Buying is usually one of the services associated with product, which results in a new instance of that product belonging to a specific customer. Okay, so when a product is sold, you create another instance of the same product, but this time this product belongs to another entity. Similarly, there may be there may be basically services to modify or destroy a product. And finally, the last entity we will talk about is the contract. Simply put, the product concept, the contract concept may be used to model a contract in the real world sense, but also a more informal agreement associated with a product. It may also be or include a service level agreement, SLA, as we call it SLA, that can describe an agreement about the functionality and quality of the service that are part of a product. Simply, a contract is a specification of a business object. All right, so next session we'll be talking about other layers of the ArchiMate.